The snow outside the mansion glittered like broken glass, but inside, Funk's world was shattering. On Christmas Eve, her husband, Adabo, stood coldly by the fire, his hand wrapped around another woman's waist. "You and that cripple of yours out. Tonight," he spat. Funk froze. Her disabled daughter, Amaka, clung to her nightgown, trembling. Their stockings still hung by the fireplace. Dinner sat untouched on the table. This was supposed to be family night, but betrayal had replaced love. Adabo's mistress smirked, whispering something that burned deeper than the winter chill. Funk felt her chest tighten. She owned nothing. No savings. No home. Just her child and the clothes on their backs. But what Adabo didn't know, what even Funk herself was about to discover, was that Mama Radunni, her late grandmother, had left behind a secret that could change everything. And that's where her story truly began. Before we dive deeper, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story. Snowflakes pressed against the frosted glass, but inside the mansion, heat swirled from the fireplace, dancing over the walls like a cruel joke. Funk stood still, her breath catching, as her husband's words sliced through the festive air. "You and that cripple of yours out. Tonight." His voice was sharp, final, like the snap of an iron gate locking shut. Funk blinked, clutching Amaka tighter. Her little girl's thin arms wound around her waist, her twisted leg dragging as she tried to hide behind her mother's dress. Christmas Eve, a night of carols and laughter. But instead, betrayal dripped from every corner of the room. "Adabo," Funk whispered, her throat dry. "Please, not tonight. Not with Amaka watching." But he didn't soften. His jaw tightened as he pulled the woman beside him closer. Yand, elegant, painted in red silk, her lips curled in a smirk. She looked around the mansion as though she already owned it. "You've delayed this long enough," Adabo barked, his eyes cold as marble. "Pack your things. Both of you. This house, this wealth, every brick, belongs to me. You were a guest here. Nothing more." The words hit like stones. Funk had given him years. She had carried his child, cooked his meals, prayed with him when business deals went south. And now, before the glow of a Christmas tree she had decorated with trembling hands, he dismissed her like a servant. Amaka whimpered, "Mama, where will we go?" Her daughter's voice was soft, broken by the weight of innocence. Funk's heart twisted. The stockings on the mantel bore their names. Amaka's little one stitched with a shaky thread by Funk herself. She had hoped this Christmas would be different, a memory bright enough to cover all the shadows. But the shadows had grown too loud. Yan chuckled, her manicured fingers tracing Adabo's sleeve. "Stop dragging it, darling. If she won't leave, throw her out yourself. She's dead weight. Both of them." The cruelty in her tone made Funk flinch. Adabo's lips pressed thin. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded paper. With a flick, he threw it onto the table. "Divorce. Signed and sealed. You'll get nothing. Not the car. Not the account. Nothing." Funk's knees almost gave way. Nothing. She had no job. Adabo had insisted she didn't need one. No savings. He had kept the bank cards in his name. No house. This mansion stood proudly under his title. All she had left was Amaka. And even now, he dared to look at the child with disgust. "Always a burden," he muttered, glaring at Amaka. "Do you know how many times I thought of sending her to a home? A warehouse for children like her. But no, I let her stay. And this is my thanks." Funk felt a tear slip down her cheek, but she refused to break. "Not here. Not in front of Yand. Not in front of Amaka." "Adabo," she said, her voice trembling but steady. "You swore before God. You promised me forever." "Forever is too expensive," he sneered. Amaka whimpered again, and Funk bent low, whispering, "Don't cry, my love. We will be okay." But inside, she didn't believe it. Where would they go in the cold? Who would open their door on Christmas Eve to a mother and her disabled child? The air grew heavy with silence, broken only by Yan's mocking laugh. "Don't waste time begging," Yan said. "We've got plans tonight. Big plans. Champagne doesn't wait." Funk turned slowly, her hands shaking as she guided Amaka toward the door. Each step felt like she was walking barefoot across broken glass. The smell of roasted turkey lingered in the air, mocking her. It should have been their feast, their joy. Instead, it became her farewell. At the doorway, Amaka paused. She looked up at her father, her dark eyes wide, glistening. "Papa, why don't you love me?" The question silenced the room. Even Yen blinked. Adabo's face hardened, and he turned away, saying nothing. The answer was clear. Funk swallowed her sob and pulled Amaka into the freezing night. Snowflakes clung to their lashes. The world outside was silent, the streets empty, save for the crunch of their steps in the snow. Funk didn't know where she was going. All she knew was she had to keep moving. For Amaka. For herself. The mansion's lights glowed behind her, warm and golden, like a cage she had just been thrown out of. Her body shook, both from cold and the weight of betrayal. She whispered a prayer, one she hadn't prayed in years. God of my mother, of Mama Adani. If you can hear me, help me now. Please. And in that moment of despair, she didn't know that her prayer had already been answered. Hidden in an old wooden chest, deep within her late grandmother's belongings, a secret waited. One that would turn her night of shame into the dawn of power. But for now, Funk pressed on, clutching her daughter close, her footprints vanishing under the falling snow. The night passed in fragments of cold and silence. Funk had taken shelter in a small church down the street. The pews were hard, the floor colder, but it was a roof over their heads. Amaka curled against her, her breathing uneven, her small body trembling despite Funk's shawl wrapped tightly around her. She kept awake, staring at the stained glass windows where colored light tried to filter through the snow outside. It felt almost cruel. God's house was filled with beauty, while her life was nothing but broken pieces. By morning, her mind was numb. She knew she needed help. But who would stand with her now? Adabo's influence reached everywhere. The businesses, the neighbors, even the church elders who had once praised him as a generous man. To them, she was just the quiet wife who stayed at home. Nobody would take her word against his. But fate has a strange way of moving. When the church bell rang at noon, a man in a long brown coat walked in. He carried a briefcase, his glasses misted from the cold. He scanned the pews, and when his eyes landed on Funk, he paused. Mrs. Funkola Adabo. His voice was calm, deep, with the practiced tone of someone who measured every word. Funk straightened, startled. Yes, that's me. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I am Barrister Okafor. I have been searching for you. Your grandmother, Mama Adani. She left something for you. At the mention of Mama Adani, Funk's heart skipped. Her grandmother had passed years ago, a strong woman who raised her with wisdom and stories. But Funk had never heard of an inheritance, never seen a letter, nothing. Something for me? She whispered, suspicious. There must be a mistake. Okafor shook his head gently and opened his briefcase. Inside was an envelope, old but sealed with wax. On the front, in shaky handwriting, was her name, Funkola. Funk's hands trembled as she took it. She broke the seal, and the scent of old paper rushed out. Her grandmother's handwriting curved across the page. My dearest child, it began. If you are reading this, it means my time has passed, but my love remains. I leave for you not only my blessings, but also the fruits of my labor. For years, I invested quietly in land, shares, and a trust for your daughter, Amaka. I knew life would test you, but I wanted you to have a refuge. Do not let anyone tell you that you are powerless. You are my blood, and you carry strength enough for a nation. Tears blurred Funk's vision. Her chest heaved as she tried to steady her breathing. She read again, just to be sure. Investments. A trust. For Amaka. Okafor's voice broke through her daze. The estate is vast. The trust alone has matured into millions. But there is a complication. Funk looked up, fear clutching her throat. Complication? Yes. Your husband intercepted letters meant for you. For years. He signed documents that were not his to sign. We have proof. Funk's hand flew to her mouth. The anger that burned in her veins was sharper than the cold. So that was why she had never heard of any inheritance. Adabo. He had known. He had hidden it all. Okafor adjusted his glasses. Legally, it is fraud. He has no claim. Everything belongs to you and your daughter. But I must warn you, when he learns that you know, he will fight. A strange calm settled over Funk. For the first time since last night, she felt something stir inside her. Not despair, not helplessness, but power. Her grandmother had seen her, had prepared for her, and now, she had a weapon Adabo could never imagine. Amaka stirred beside her, rubbing her eyes. Mama, what's wrong? Funk kissed her forehead softly. Nothing, my love. Nothing at all. Mama Adunni has given us a gift. The girl smiled faintly, unaware of the storm gathering outside. Later that evening, when Funk returned to the small rented room Okafor arranged for her, she stared at the letter again. Each word was like a torch lighting the dark corridors of her heart. Her grandmother had believed in her strength. That meant she couldn't crumble, not now. But the walls shook again when the door slammed open. Adabo strode in, fury written across his face, with Yan trailing behind, her arms crossed. His eyes burned as they landed on the letter in Funk's hand. "You," he roared. "You went behind my back." Okafor, standing calmly by the window, didn't flinch. "No, Mr. Adabo. You went behind hers. Years of intercepted mail. Fraud. Theft of inheritance. Shall I continue?" Adabo's face drained of color. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Yan's eyes widened, her smirk fading. "Wait, fraud. You told me you were rich. You told me everything was yours." Adabo turned to her, desperate. I still have." But Yan stepped back, shaking her head. "You're a liar. A thief. I won't sink with you." And with that, she stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. Funk sat straighter, her grip tightening on the letter. For years, she had lived in Adabo's shadow, letting his voice drown hers. But now, the tide was shifting. She stood, her daughter's hand in hers, and said softly, "You will never break us again." For the first time, Adabo had no reply. His empire of lies was crumbling. And this was only the beginning. The New Year's Eve party glittered with chandeliers and clinking glasses, but beneath the music and laughter, tension pulsed like a hidden drumbeat. Funk stood at the top of the staircase, her gown a simple navy silk that Mama Kim, Adabo's estranged mother, had insisted she wear. It wasn't expensive, but it carried dignity. Beside her, Amaka leaned on her crutch, her small frame trembling, not from weakness this time, but from courage she was still learning to wear. Guests filled the hall below, politicians, business partners, socialites. All the people who once praised Adabo as the man who could do no wrong. They laughed, toasted, whispered deals under their breath. They did not know that tonight, the script of their host's life would be rewritten in fire. Mama Kim touched Funk's arm gently. "My daughter," she said, her voice low but firm, "don't be afraid. The truth always stands taller than lies." Funk nodded. She had spent the last week rehearsing this moment, building her courage with each dawn. Yan had visited secretly too, her face stripped of arrogance, offering testimony to the lawyer. Even Yan had chosen truth over Adabo now. The betrayal had lost its glitter. When the orchestra paused and the champagne glasses rose for the midnight toast, Funk descended the staircase. All eyes turned. Whispers began. Why was she here? Wasn't she the discarded wife? Adabo froze at the podium, his smile twitching. "What is this?" he hissed as Funk approached. Her voice was calm, steady, carrying through the hall. "This, Adabo, is the truth you've buried for years." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Barrister Okafor stepped forward, carrying a small recorder. He pressed play. Adabo's own voice filled the hall, dripping with contempt. "That girl of mine is nothing but a burden. I should have sent her to the warehouse for disabled children long ago. Funkola? She's just a placeholder. Once the inheritance comes through, I'll have her declared incompetent. Everything will be mine." The room fell silent. Champagne glasses froze midair. Faces turned to Adabo, shocked, disgusted. Amaka clutched her mother's hand, her little chin lifted. She looked straight at her father, her voice trembling but clear. "Papa, you wanted to throw me away. But I'm not a burden. I am your daughter." The words, spoken in front of everyone, cut sharper than any blade. Adabo's mask cracked. Mama Kim stepped forward, her head high, her voice booming with grief and rage. "Adabo, you shame me. You shame our family. From this day, you are no son of mine." The crowd erupted, gasps, murmurs, the snapping of camera phones capturing every second. Business partners shook their heads, already calculating their exit from his sinking ship. Politicians who once praised him now looked at him as if he carried disease. Yan emerged from the shadows, her voice cold. "And let them also know, I was his mistress. He lied to me too. He told me he was a king, but he is nothing but a thief. I will testify. Every deal, every forged paper, I'll expose it." Adabo staggered back, his world collapsing brick by brick. "You can't do this to me," he shouted, his face wild. Everything here is mine. But Funk stood taller, her voice like steel. No, Adabo. Nothing here is yours. The inheritance is mine. The trust belongs to Amaka. And tonight, so does the truth. Cheers rose from some corners of the hall, while others muttered in disbelief. Adabo's empire crumbled under the weight of witnesses, evidence, and betrayal unveiled. He tried to storm out, but the reporters waiting at the gates swarmed him before he could escape. Funk held Amaka close, tears spilling at last, not of sorrow, but of release. For the first time in years, she breathed without chains. As fireworks burst outside, painting the midnight sky, Funk whispered to her daughter, "This is our new beginning." 6 months later, the Aduni Foundation opened its doors. Bright banners carried a mawkish smile across the city, declaring hope for families with disabled children. Funk poured her heart into it, turning her pain into power. She was no longer the woman begging at a cold doorway. She was a leader, a protector, a mother reborn. And somewhere in the quiet halls of the foundation, love found her again, not in wealth or lies, but in a doctor who knelt to tie Amaka's shoelace before greeting Funk with gentle eyes. A man who saw them both, not as burdens, but as blessings. The world had kicked her out on Christmas Eve, but she rose again by New Year's Eve. And this time, she wasn't standing alone. Moral of the story: every storm carries a lesson, and every betrayal plants a seed for renewal. Funk's journey reminds us that strength often lies hidden until life strips everything else away. She found her voice when silence no longer served her, and in protecting her daughter, she discovered the power of legacy and truth. No cruelty lasts forever, but love, real love, does. If this story touched you, like this video, subscribe to King's Folklore, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters.